Everybody, ring the bells, ring the alerts, boys.
All right, your next witness.
Your Honor, we'd like to call Laura Amber Heard to the stand.
All right.
Amber Laura. Now, why are you here?
I am here because my ex-husband is suing me for an op-ed I wrote.
And how do you feel about that?
I struggle to have the words.
Oh.
I struggle to find the words to describe how painful this is.
Okay, this acting is L. This is L.
This is horrible.
Please stop.
For me to sit here for weeks and relive everything. Hear people that I knew, some well, some not.
If you don't play Overwatch, that is called ulting and spawn.
Whom I shared a life.
That's how we call it.
Speak about our lives in the way that they have. This has been this is the most painful and difficult thing I've ever gone through, for sure.
So when you arrived in Hollywood, please tell the jury what you did to get moving there, get going.
I went to every audition, every casting, every meeting, every appointment that I could. I put myself out there. I didn't have a car because those were expensive. So I took the bus around LA. It was before smartphones. I had a Thomas guide in my bag and a change of tank tops. Not that it mattered, but I went to about 10 auditions sometimes a day and would change clothes if I needed to in the back of, the bus I was taking. And I just hustled from one audition to the other. And I got a bit part on one thing, and then I got a bit part on another thing. And then eventually my roles kind of became more important or bigger. And it's been a slow progression, I guess, since then, of doing either tiny bit parts in bigger movies or doing, larger roles in movies that no one would see. And I guess, it still is kind of like that. Zombieland and Pineapple Express and movies that were well known. My first one was Friday Night Lights. But again, I had small roles in those bigger films. And then I would do larger roles in kind of smaller films.
Zombieland, she was a zombie.
I did a project where I was the lead in a John Carpenter film, and he came out of retirement to do that. And that's kind of how it was in terms of my career for those first initial 10 years or so. It was just...
Describe, if you can, the events of the filming and your interactions with Mr. Depp during that time.
It was a bit surreal.
They do know. They do know 100%.
Filming in a place like Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
Sometimes they do like it.
It takes place in the 50s.
Oh, I don't remember.
So
it was like
everything
on a
really looked
Sunday,
and,
March 8th, 7:39 p.m., 48 seconds on the dot.
It was a very colorful shoot in general. I did a scene that involved kissing. We had a kissing scene, and it didn't feel like a normal scene anymore. It felt more real. There are certain things that you do in the job to be professional, like when you have to do that sort of scene, and you don't you don't use your tongue if you can avoid it. There's certain things that you do to just maintain a certain line, and it just felt like those lines were blurred. I mean, he grabbed my face and pulled me into him and really kissed me. But we were filming a scene.
Did he use his tongue?
Yes.
Okay.
He kind of playfully kind of pushed me down on this bed sofa that was in his trailer, just playful and flirtatious, and he said, yum. And he kind of lifted up his eyebrows like that. And I just giggled, laughed it off, kind of batted him away, and, you know, moved on, went back to set.
And were you in a relationship at that time?
Interesting.
I was.
Okay. And was Mr. Depp in a relationship at that time?
That was my understanding, yeah. I felt that, like, when I was around Johnny, I felt like the most beautiful person in the whole world.
Oh my God, the acting. Holy.
You know, it made me feel seen, made me feel
Holy shit.
$1 million.
Holy shit.
And that kind of feeling where, you know, he's just lavish gifts and lavish expressions of love, and how he had never met a woman like me. I mean, I remember he took the foil off of this bottle and put it on my ring finger, and I had only been with him like days, you know, or maybe it was weeks at the time. Yeah, it was probably about a few weeks, but it just felt very intense. But we weren't doing normal life stuff. We weren't like stuck in traffic with each other. We weren't going to the grocery store and doing life. We were like hiding in these places around the world. He has so many homes. And so we'd be in one of those homes, or my home at the time, and it would be like a bubble, like we were in this little bubble of secrecy, and it felt like a warm glow, as we would say. You know, as I mentioned, this bubble, you know, where he'd come over to my house and not leave for like 3 or 4 days, you know, just smoking cigarettes and playing music and reading poetry to me or painting me, or, you know, just talking. And then he would disappear. And there'd be just no way to get a hold of him. No
Have
way
you guys
to
noticed
contact
some of the
him.
wording she uses is very one-sided a lot of times?
At first, I didn't really think anything about it.
He did
but,
this, and I
he
just responded. He doesn't leave
one
instead of
point,
he stayed. I don't know if you guys noticed.
And then came back and said he was dealing with something.
A lot of one-sided language.
And, would I join him in the Bahamas? When I was with him, you know, I felt that electricity in my body. I felt like butterflies. I couldn't, you know, I couldn't see straight practically. It was just, you know, I was head over heels in love. And he felt like that to me. He felt like he was also in love. I didn't feel like he was faking it. But it didn't stop with that. It was clothing in general. And when I walked out of the house, it wasn't just like, hey, you're not allowed to wear that. It was like, oh, really? That's what you're wearing. No wonder you get cast in those roles. No wonder you that's what you are. That's what you're making it.
Damn.
And it you know,
Holy.
it continued. And then
they're getting a whole show.
There would be a blow up. And at first it was just to throw something, smash some things.
Bruh.
He loves to smash up a place, an apartment, furniture is what it started with. Glass, threw glass at me, and I remember it was summer.
Dude, why is it lagging it?
And he just threw this glass across the kitchen, and it didn't hit me, but it shattered behind me, and I remember thinking that it like very easily could have hit me. And that, calling me a whore, it didn't start with using the whore word, it was just comments until it would escalate. And then I started to notice the pattern of escalation where he'd throw glass or turn over a table. Then he would hit the wall, and then he'd hit the wall really close to my head. You know, like when I'm standing there, you know, just hit the wall, screaming at me. But then he would disappear and get clean and sober, and he'd come back and tell me that he was done drinking, he was over it,
yeah,
he was done,
super
cleaned himself up, he'd done it before, and he'd do it again. And then he would go back to this like wonderful, like almost like just unreal, like but real, you know, but unbelievably nice, sensitive, kind, warm, generous, interesting, funny man
bomb reference
that
number 3, I'm pretty sure.
Loved. And he
Same
would
topic, chat. Would keep it at 8.
make me feel so loved. Like I would feel so distant from that thing that was so scary. that I would not even recognize the two. And that was how, you know, our relationship kind of started to develop in that first year.
Do you remember the first time that he physically hit you?
Yes.
Please tell the jury about it.
Here comes.
It was so... It's seemingly so stupid, so
can we get a tear?
insignificant. I will never forget it. It changed...
Let's hear it.
It changed my life. I was sitting on the couch, and we were talking. We were having a normal conversation, you know, just... There was no fighting, no argument, nothing. And he was drinking, and I didn't realize at the time, but I think he was using cocaine because it was like there was a jar of cocaine out on the table. I realize that sounds weird, but it was like an actual vintage jar of it. But I didn't see him use it at the time, so I didn't really factor that in. I just, you know, he's drinking and we're talking, and there's music playing, and he's smoking cigarettes, and we're sitting next to each other on the couch. And I asked him about the tattoo he has on his arm. And to me, it just looked like black marks. I didn't know what it said. It just looked like muddled, faded tattoo that was hard to read. And I said, what does it say? And he said it says wino. It says wino. And I didn't see that. I thought he was joking because it didn't look like it said that at all. And I laughed. It was that simple. And slapped me across the face. And I laughed. I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. I thought, this must be a joke. This must be a joke. Because I didn't know what was going on. I just stared at him, kind of laughing still, thinking that he was going to start laughing too to tell me it was a joke. But he didn't.
Okay.
He said, you think it's so funny? You think it's funny, bitch. You think you're a funny bitch. And he slapped me again. Like, it was clear it wasn't a joke anymore. And I stopped laughing, but I didn't know what else to do. You know, I didn't know what to do. You would think you would have a response, but I, as a woman, had never been hit like that. I'm an adult, and I'm sitting next to the man I love, and he slapped me for no reason, it seemed like, and I missed the point. It was that stupid. Second slap, I know he's not kidding, but I don't know what else to say or do, so I just stared at him. I didn't say anything. I didn't react. I didn't move or freak out or defend myself or say, what are you doing? You're crazy. I just stared at him because I didn't know what else to do. And he slaps me one more time.
Okay.
Hard. I lose my balance. At this point, we're sitting next to each other on the edge of the couch, or I was on the edge of the couch.
Leacox is not working.
And I'm all of a sudden realizing that the worst thing has just happened to me that could possibly happen to you. I realized that I wish so much he had said he was joking, because it didn't hurt. Didn't physically hurt me. I was just sitting there on this carpet, looking at the dirty carpet, wondering how I wound up on this carpet and why I never noticed that the carpet was so filthy before, and I just didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to react. I just sat there thinking, how much time do I have till I figure out what I need to do? Because, God, did he just hit me? No, I didn't want to leave him. I didn't want this to be the reality. I didn't want to have the man I was in love with. I know you don't come back from that. You know, I'm not dumb. I know you can't hit a woman. You can't hit a man. You can't hit anyone. You can't
nice save.
hit somebody.
She saved it. She saved it.
I knew there was I knew it was wrong.
She
and I
almost
knew that
slipped,
I had to leave him.
but she saved it.
And that's what broke my heart. because I didn't want to leave him. I thought if I got up out of that room, I would leave the best thing that ever happened to me. And I wish I could sit here and say I stood up and I walked out of that house and I drew a line and I stood up for myself.
No tear. I'm gonna make a poll in chat. Answer the poll. I'm asking if we're gonna get a tear or not.
Just looking at the dirty carpet, trying to will myself to get up, to walk out of the door because I knew I needed to. And I really slowly stood up and I remember looking at him in the eye and just looking at him, frankly, because I didn't know what else to do. And before I know it, he starts crying. And, you know, like, I had never seen an adult man cry. I didn't even really see my dad cry at my grandma's funeral. You know, it's weird. And he's crying. Tears, I mean, just falling out of his eyes. He gets down on his knees and he grabs my hands and he's touching my hands and he's saying to me, I will never do that again. I'm so sorry, baby. I put the fucker away. I thought I killed it and it's done. I thought I put the monster away and I've done it before. It's done. But on his knees.
No, you can't cry as an adult male. You're not allowed to. It's like a law thing.
I didn't have words. I didn't know what to say. I just remember thinking that it was just, he was crying. He seemed so sorry, but I knew I couldn't just forgive him because right? That means it will happen again, no? You know, like I've seen the health class videos.
You can only do it if you have no tears.
And I got up in my car. I walked to the car. I didn't say anything. I made a point to not say, oh, it's okay or anything like that. I just didn't say anything. I got up, I went to the car, I sat in my car, and I felt like I sat there forever. I didn't want to turn the key. I just leaned my head up against the window, and I remember just seeing my breath on the windshield, you know, on the glass of the window of the door, just seeing my breath and trying to will myself to have the strength to know what I should do in this moment, because
useless details create sense of
heartbroken. And I sat there for a long time, and I eventually turned the key and drove home. Apologizing profusely. I mean, just, you know, he said, I'd rather cut my hand off than ever lay it on you or lay it upon you, you know, and he had that way of talking.
Like wait a
poetry.
minute.
But, you know, I believed that there was a line he wouldn't cross again, and that was it.
And
tear?
so you stayed, correct? You stayed in the relationship?
Yes.
Okay. So
Nope.
Sometimes he would show up to catch me. Like that was a pretext for coming over. And by the time we were done talking, I would have thought I had convinced him that I loved him, that I only loved him, there was no one else.
How did she know why he came?
That we were back in an upswing and would go back to good, loving, like sick, romantic love, like kind, sweet, velvety love. And then it would be something I said, why did you say it that way? You know, if I had to leave for an audition, I could guarantee that when couldn't guarantee, but 2 of those in a row, and when I came back, he was angry at me.
600K viewers.
I didn't necessarily know why, and then he started accusing me of things. Probably like at first it was indirect, and then it became really direct. Then the punching of the walls next to my head, which is a constant at that time in 2012 when he was drinking. Eventually, that became. You know, him accusing me of cheating. I'd defend myself. I'd say, you know, that's crazy. You're wrong. I would never. The normal things. And it would escalate to the point where he would push me or shove me down, and then I'd get back up and this happened several times. That's why it's not more specific, I suppose. When I get back up, I'd look him in the eye. I made a point of getting up and looking him in the eye. It's my way of defending myself at that time. And I'd look at him, and he'd ask me if I wanted to go again, and shove me back down. Eventually, he just hit me. Remember, he hit me in the face when I denied having an affair with my ex-wife, my ex-partner at the time. And he said he had proof. I denied it. And I was walking out of the bedroom, slapped me across the face. I turned to look at him. And I said, Johnny, you hit me. You just hit me.
Damn, she's giving it a full-fledged performance.
I'm going to ask you, so can
jury.
you bring up 1783, please?
What number again, please?
I'm sorry.
What number?
Defendants 1783. So did you tell anyone?
Yes, I did.
Who did you tell?
I told my therapist. I eventually told my mom.
And let's go ahead and take a look at Defendants Exhibit 150.
I can't back away from them. Oh, easy. Look, Candy! I told you guys. I told you he was eating candy. You guys said he wasn't? I told you motherfuckers it was candy. Jelly beans. Those are drugs? No, no, these are jelly beans. I can see the actual them. No, these are jelly beans.
I knew she would understand.
And when approximately did you start confiding in your mom about your issues with Mr. Depp and the physical abuse?
Objection, hearsay, compound.
Yeah. If we stand. Oh, gummy worms.
All right, and Ms. Hurd, just a reminder that now that you're on the stand, you cannot discuss your testimony with anybody to include your attorneys, okay? All right, so we'll be back. Let's make it 3:45, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
We send it. I wanna send a
Sensitive topic
picture
equals
to your
look
dad
at the jury.
support.
Each and every one of them.
My sister was upset with my dad.
Text exchange between you and Mr. Depp. Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. And the first one is from you to Mr. Depp. Just
Why?
thought you should know there exists a book. Is that to you? Is it to Mr. Depp from you, or it's vice versa? Isn't it?
It's Johnny texting me.
Just thought you should know there exists a book titled Disco Bloodbath. And then you say, we need that book. And you say, is this about last Friday night by any chance? And he says, how can you make me smile about such a hideous moment? And I'm not going to repeat the rest of it. Could you tell the jury what happened on that Friday night? And is this a picture that you took of yourself in March of 2013?
I did.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendant's Exhibit 170A.
Any objection?
No objection, Your
All right,
Honor.
170A in evidence. You can
Okay.
publish the picture.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let's see it, guys. If I had PBS open, CBS. If it shows up on PBS.
And how did you sustain that bruise, Amber?
I had thrown a,
Wait, where's the blood?
Johnny
On the
slapped
wall.
me. I walked away from him, and that made it worse. We got into like a shouting match.
Oh, so that's another instance.
And he kind of did this thing with his body where I could tell he was going to hit me again. I picked up
It's a bruise.
I remember it kind of like a little pot, not a pot, but like a vase. And I remember I got away from him enough as he reels back. I threw it in his direction and actually managed to get away before he got me. He grabbed me by the arm, and he kind of just held me on the floor, screaming at me. I don't know how many times he hit me in the face, but I remember being on the floor of my apartment, and I remember thinking, how could this happen to me again?
Can you bring up 170?
The face looks fine, but I guess we're gonna see a 170. The flying dog?
Could you tell the jury what the box is that has the property with the skull bones, property of JD?
That's Johnny's drug box. I've seen it used for pills, but at the time it was bags of Coke, like dime bags of Coke.
Okay. And what are these white lines on the table to the left of that box?
That is cocaine.
Okay.
These are some pretty severe lines, though.
And do you
Jesus.
know what is in these two glasses that have kind of a gold colored liquor?
Yes, they're different, actually. It's confusing. They're different liquids. The one in the back in the larger glass is, I believe at the time I was doing these tabs, or Baroka, that's what they're called. They're little tablets. And anyway, I remember at the time that's what I was putting in my water because I had just come back from France.
Scoop, they wouldn't do
Text
fucking
the email
lines.
that
Like,
you
these
sent
are
to
pretty
Rocky
severe.
with
That's a lot of juice, man.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a fucking good juicer, man.
Now
Where are you hiding it? And he kind of like makes to look into the bathroom.
You can
And
smell
I
it.
gestured to the bathroom, which was to my right. I kind of like gestured to him and I said, like, what am I hiding and where am I going to hide it? And we're standing in this little hallway area outside of the bathroom and he starts, what it feels like patting me down or saying he's patting me down. I can't recall, but he ripped my dress, the strap top part of my dress. I had just dyed this thing myself pink, and it's just one of those things. I was like, that's I just finished that dress, and he's like grabbing my breasts, he's touching my thighs, he rips my underwear off, and then he proceeds to do a cavity search.
Huh?
He said he was looking for his drugs, his cocaine, his coke. I was wondering how somebody who didn't do cocaine and was against it, that was in and of itself causing problems in our relationship. How could I hide? Why would I hide his drugs from, like he was insinuating that I was doing it or something? It made no sense.
Wait, what? Wait, wait a minute. That's bad. That doesn't make sense.
Telling me we're gonna conduct a cavity search, shall we? Like, just shoved his fingers inside me.
Yeah, child, wait.
Just stood there staring at the stupid light.
Oh, then she's high now.
I didn't know what to do. I just stood there. While he did that, he just twisted his fingers around.
So I don't want to be insensitive. It's just mushrooms and lights and I don't know. I'll talk about it later.
I didn't say stop or anything. I just.
So the next morning, what transpired?
I'm not trying to be funny. I'll talk about it later. Chill out.
I remember thinking that Johnny would change his mind. I was so in love with this person because when it was good, it was so good. You've never felt love like that. At least that's how it felt.
Oh, the love bomb narrative, I think.
So much. I felt like he recognized me and I recognized him, and there was just something there that.
Oh, Tear, hold
was
up.
the love of my life.
Wait a minute. No!
And he was. He was. But he was also this other thing. He was also this other thing. And that other thing was awful, awful thing that would come out and take over, and it was, you couldn't see the Johnny I loved underneath it. It was this other thing. And no one told him, no one was honest with him, no one, you know, he'd pass out in his own vomit, he'd lose control of his body, his, you know, he'd lose control, and everyone would clean up after him. I cleaned up after him. I mean, this man lost control of his bowels, and I cleaned up after him. His security cleaned up after him, changed his pants in front of me. He would pass out in his own sick.
He's laughing.
You know, and then he'd walk around saying he didn't have a problem. Until he did. Until he couldn't support it anymore, and he'd get clean and he'd get sober, and then he was this thing again. This thing that made me feel so loved, that made me feel like...
I feel like the Lord told him that it was ironic and that he lost one of his bowels.
Like, my...
The bowel expert.
My soulmate, as
the silent
cheesy
pooper.
as that sounds, I just felt like he knew me.
The pooper
And I
bandit.
recognized something in him. Either some part of my makeup and my background or something that I just got it. And I loved him and understood him. It just got so scary, the other part of him.
There was a plane ride to Russia with Johnny.
You're kidding, right?
So then I'm gonna
Lol,
jump
Major
to,
Mayor.
and it's not much of a jump, to June 26, 2013.
Like what I had done MDMA before, you know, I thought it's a lovey drug. It's a, you know,
Wait,
it's like
I want to hear this.
I never knew anyone to get violent on it. And, you know, I thought, well, this is a relatively contained environment. Maybe this will be different. Maybe I can be a good cop and be part of the, you know, like I don't have to be the lesbian counselor all the time, as you would say. You know, I can maybe be the fun girlfriend. And I learned the hard way that that was not happening.
So what happened?
Well, we took MDMA. I took a capsule. It's like a powder in a capsule. I took a capsule, and Johnny took several. I didn't count, but you know, it's very different when you see someone take one versus a handful of something. But
No! What just happened?
the attendant got involved. The flight attendant came by,
Okay,
was engaging
what do you
with
mean?
us. I don't think that they're really. It felt
YouTube is
like
so
it was
bad.
before the effects of the drug took over. It was relatively quick, soon after we first took our dose, if you can say. And the flight attendant, Johnny offered her some. She of course said no. And then after some back and forth between them, Johnny convinced her that it would be fine. So she acquiesced and took MDMA with us. And within, you know, a few minutes go by, and the same thing happened that happened on the mushrooms at Hicksville with the woman Kelly Sue, who I've told you about. Flight attendant got friendly with me, but just friendly, just
A
like
few minutes?
MDMA friendly, you know, was kind of, I'm a woman, he's a man, so
few
she was naturally
minutes?
a bit
What?
more comfortable with me physically. She kind of
Can we
leaned
get
into me
a
and
drug
sat
expert on
the
stand
arm
to
of
try
the
to
chair I
rectify
was
that?
sitting in.
Before it crosses the fucking blood-brain barrier, it takes
after all,
about 30, 35 from the
she's on
stomach.
drugs,
35, 40
and,
minutes, maybe?
Johnny
20
grabs her
minimum?
hand and tells her not to touch me, and she kind of reacts in a way like, you know, like she's defending herself and was trying to clarify. And he grabbed her by the wrist and slammed it down on the table and told her he could break her wrist. And I remember thinking, I've heard this before. And that was a pattern that would repeat itself a few times. These things would happen in these kind of cycles where there'd be a certain element that would get filtered for a while, whether it's an accusation or a gesture, and that would be the thing that he looped on. I called it loops. And he grabs her wrist and he tells her he could break her wrist. She cries instantly, denies it, is so apologetic. Eventually he lets go. She goes to the front of the plane where the flight attendant, you know, normally hangs out, and the doors close, and I don't see her much of that whole flight. We land in Russia, and I don't really remember, you know, I don't recall any violence on the plane between Johnny and I, but I remember feeling this tension because I was wondering when it was gonna aim at me, because he had this particular thing about, well, at the time I understood he had a particular thing, a sensitivity about me and women, because I had a female partner. So I was feeling nervous, anxious, and I remember we had a very quiet ride, at least I didn't say anything, to the ride to the hotel. And almost as soon as we get into the hotel room, Johnny's accusing me of effectively having engaged that, caused that. I, of course, deny it, point out what I thought was obvious, that, you know, like we'd given her drugs, you know, wasn't an affair, wasn't, you know, and I'm trying to argue and defend myself at the same time. And at one point, Johnny just shoves me, like, I mean, just.
Dude, everybody around there, when they take drugs, they get blasted. But her, she's like invincible.
This glass table.
Immune.
I catch myself on the table. I don't know how some furniture got knocked around. There was a, you know, I'm trying to stand up for myself. I'm trying to stand up, literally. I'm not, you know, at this point, I don't even try to hit back or try to run. I'm in this hotel room trying to do my best to fight mostly the verbal accusations, but also I try to stay on my feet.
Shouldn't take a lot.
You know?
One capsule is enough. Like what?
At some point, Johnny whacks me in the face, and I don't remember feeling pain or like awareness of my nose or anything. I don't remember thinking that. I remember kind of crying and feeling, I went into the bathroom and I wanted him to have I just remember wanting him to realize what had happened. I wanted him to kind of snap out of it. I wanted him to care. I wanted him to realize what was going on, because a big part of this, I felt like he wasn't aware. There was this sense that he didn't know what was going on. Drunk, and Lily Rose, his daughter at the time, was young.
She can read one full page of a Harry Potter book.
And she started to get panicky and started.
Do you recall these?
Yes, I do.
And are these the text messages?
Yes, that's what he was sending me while I was taking care of his daughter.
Good point to break for the day.
I think it's probably good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and conclude for today. Again, do not read anything about this case. Do not do any outside research, and don't discuss it with anybody, okay? Have a good evening. We'll see you in the morning, okay?
What? No!
Thank you.